Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Story Deep Dive with Rachel and Dana. I forget to say that quite a lot when I introduce the podcast. This is a podcast where two book coaches, editors, and besties discuss books not as readers, but as writers to draw inspiration from great books and have plenty of laughs along the way because reading is more fun with friends, as is writing. So today we are coming back to talk about characters in Twisted Love by Ana Huang. Anna. I've heard it both ways, and now I don't feel very good about any of my options. I've bungled just absolutely every single intro so far. I figure now I just got to go for 100%. But before we get into our discussion of characters, life is always crazy over there at Danja Tales, and I would love to know what you're getting up to these days. So tell the people what you're doing over there, Dana.
Listen.
Take your pick.
Okay, listen. Okay, well, this is going to be total left field. So I kind of gave a little sneak peek that I was going to the Quilt Festival last month, and it was before we went. And now I'm after I went. Y'all listen, this has nothing to do with writing, but it honestly has everything to do with writing because I have found that doing something that's physical, tactile with your hands, has always been a part of making my writing process just function, right? Just function. So I went and was there for almost a week, and just being able to turn off, recharge, and just play with fabric. Okay, just have a good old time.
Yes.
It was the best. It was so good. I was like, listen, I was excited for 10 months. How can you hold on to that excitement for 10 months? I don't know, but I did it. So it was I had such a great time of just being in class, just letting my brain relax. And then, of course, I'm listening to audiobooks and everything. So I started a new book and everything else. But it was really, really great. So it just helped me to just kick back. Students was taken care of. Life was lifing. But we just went and had a great time and sort of just brought me back to be able to finish out this last quarter with a bang. So it's always just such a great time. So that's not what's going on at Danja Tales. But it did make Dana happy. And so it just made my life feel much better. And the other thing with Danja Tales, honestly, we are finished by the time you all hear this, we would have done our last book club selection for 2025. And I'm still honestly trying to decide the last book. I think I know what I want to do, because I want to do something that's not romance or not contemporary romance.
Oh, I was like, not a romance. It's like, talk to me. I've got suggestions.
Well, I try to balance because we have people that do fantasy and PNR. And because we've been in One Bossy Proposal for 4 months, 5 months, that I want to do something a little different. But the story I think I'm going to pick is a long one. So I need to just figure it out. Or I may go back to one of the other ones that I had on my list. But the point is, we're wrapping that up, and then the last big stretch for me for teaching is going to be preparing for our virtual retreat, and so that is usually three days of me teaching and leading them through exercises, and then reflecting on this year and preparing for next year, and so I will start kind of finalizing that after. I have one more speaking engagement this year, but I've already been collecting notes for the past 6 months.
Oh,
so
amazing. That's so exciting.
I will say, I always feel like it's not your normal thing, but I think it's sort of taken on a life of its own about what it is. And I think last year, so this year will be the third year that we've done it like this virtually. And I think last year set a nice precedent. So now it's just about me sort of buckling down and finishing it up. We have usually a very detailed workbook for them to work through and things like that, and just roll up our sleeves, both metaphorically and literally, and look at our businesses and where we want to go. And so I have some key things that I think I want to teach, and then having a reflection and sort of closing out the year with a bang.
That's awesome. That's so exciting. Because I know all of your students and client, like everybody looks forward to this because every year it's super good. And also Dana makes a mean workbook. Dana makes a mean workbook 100% of the time. The people love the workbooks. So I'm excited for you, because the cool thing is, like, you do a lot of that work alongside them as well. Like, you're teaching it, but you're also like sharing in that process with them. And so all of your retreats to date have been fantastic. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for them, because I know that everyone's really looking forward to, to getting, especially like at the end of the year, to like get to celebrate how far you've come, what you've done in the last year, and also to set yourself up for success in, because those usually happen early in December. And so it gives you enough time to really think, really reflect, and really plan, so that you know what you're doing when 2026 rolls up on you. But it also means that that's like, it's ready for you, so you can enjoy that time off during the holidays, usually when life gets, tends to shift more into family time and into also taking some time off, because everybody needs to take a little time off, and get a recoup and regroup. And so I'm excited. I can't wait to find. Hopefully, when we do maybe some of our episodes in December, you can talk about what you guys did.
We're going to.
I want to know.
And one of the things that I used to. This was just came from a practice that I have for my business, and in a lot of ways it's celebrating, but it's almost like capturing, right? Taking stock of. And I'm already, like, in our inner circle and some of our meetings, starting to teach concepts that you can sort of have in your toolbox to take forward based on what you uncover when we do the retreat. And so I think it's always so cool too that people who've been to the other ones will be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go back and listen to 1 and 2 before we get to 3. And if you weren't there, it's going to be like Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what to tell you. We don't sell them. We don't. If you were not an active member at that time, or an active member of our community at that time, you don't have access to it. So it is one of those things where you've got to be in the place to be able to do it. But I think it just sort of takes our creative brain and just make sure that we don't leave our business acumen, out of the conversation. And I honestly believe it will be a nice sort of bow on the conversations that we've had since boot camp, right? Because it's 6 months ago. So having what they've went through, I know, through boot camp, a lot of them changing things about their businesses and about the way that they've started writing their books. And then also them having wins since then, because they've released books. So now when you talk about, well, what does it look like next year, and them preparing their release schedule for the full year kind of thing, and now having more understanding of how long it takes them research, how long does it take them to apply, how long does it take them to write. And so all of those things come together to just be a really reflective moment. And it's on one hand, it's sort of stressful, but on the other hand, it's very relaxing. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. Do I know 100% what I'm doing? No. However, I know.
But you don't need to know just yet. We're not there yet. So if you have your slides done 24 hours before the thing goes, you win.
Wait, first of all, when have I ever had my slides done 24 hours in advance?
That's why I said you've got so much time. If you even get them done 24 hours in advance, you're just absolutely ahead of the game.
Rachel, you know I'm 15 minutes before finishing my slide.
And that's why you're my hero.
Listen, well, the good thing is I hardly ever do slide decks for the retreat. So that makes it easier, but it does take a lot of preparation. So a lot of the bulk of it is done, and usually it's just like What do I want to do? Do I have the music that they listen to in the background? Do I know how to turn on sound in Zoom? You know, these things. These pesky things that can just make everything feel overly stressful. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
So this tosses it back in your corner. What do you have going on over there at Story Cipher?
Yes, ma'am. Well, you guys know about every month I'll give you nobody, like, honestly, it's like the least relevant thing that I do. But I like to give a Twitch update so you guys know what I'm getting up to. So throughout October, and I talked about this in last month's episodes, I've been playing Expedition 33, which is, again, gorgeous story, fabulous storytelling, beautiful design, amazing soundtrack. I mean, they just nailed it across the board. It's really cool, and small studios right now are kind of having a day. We have a lot of games that came out this year, specifically from studios that are like less than 50 people. The two big ones, Hades 2 and Expedition 33, are 25 to 30 people in the studio, which is much smaller than your average AAA studio, which is just the whole thing is kind of ballooned out. So it's nice because the industry is seeing what you can achieve with those dedicated small teams, without some of the trappings of the problems larger studios are having right now. That's just an aside on the state of video game creation right now. But so since I was playing Expedition 33 and all my timetables had kind of got shifted around, so during October when everybody's playing horror games, I was still playing a story-driven game, which has been fabulous, but I like to play horror games around Halloween because that's what we do, on Twitch. That's what we do at Halloween. So having missed that opportunity, we are doing the horror holidays on my channel. So through November and December, I will be playing horror games. That's like my seasonal activity is horror games. So I've got some stuff planned for channel point redeems to let people participate, and that is how we are celebrating the holidays on my channel, is through horror games. So my first one is Still Wakes the Deep, which is a game that's actually released by a Scottish studio. I think they're another small studio. I have to go back and check. But it's a horror game, and like so many horror games I seem to wind up playing, it takes place underwater, which is my least favorite place for horror games to take place because I hate underwater. Like, I don't like big scary bodies of water, let alone going under those bodies of water where all the weird stuff lives. But that's what we're doing, so that's what we're doing on Twitch right now. And I'm really excited because it's always like, horror games they're awful to play, but they're so fun to experience with a community because, so the nice thing about watching someone play is you have that level of removal, right? So you can kind of enjoy the story for what it is, and you still get some of the scare, that reaction that horror is designed to elicit, but you have a level of removal because you're watching someone else do it. That's why I like to watch other people play horror games, and I don't want to play them myself, but then I get to put myself in the driver's seat, provide that opportunity for my community as well, and then we all get to experience it together. And I think that's why seeing a horror movie in a movie theater or with friends or something like that is fun, because you're sharing that experience together. Even though, honestly, if I were going to choose experiences to have, that would not probably be the one. But it always turns out so good. And in the end, I've had so much fun. It's always worth it. So, yes, that's what we're doing on Twitch right now. We're having the horror holidays. And,
listen, you did that one. First of all, I don't do horror. Here lately, my husband has been on a kick because when we're recording, it is very popular right now. The other night we watched the latest Alien. And also the latest Jurassic Park. I'm like, how did this thing turn into being so it basically was like another Alien or something. How they evolved
Jurassic
that story.
Park was?
Yes.
No, okay, well, because the first Jurassic Park is pretty scary. It's it's very.
They took it all the way because of mutation over time.
Lord.
Yes,
oh
and
my
listen.
God.
And then it is really good, but it is really what in the world? You know me.
The
and
action
of course,
adventure story that we started with.
And the ones before that, I really like because it's kind of when they're becoming a part of society, blah, blah, blah. It's a little bit more not necessarily PG-13, but it's a little calmer. Girl, these, that one, but it's good.
They were
Don't
like,
get me
you
wrong.
had your break. Now the mutations.
I was just like, babe, what is this? What is this? And of course, I'm watching it, and I just try to like sew or something to keep my head down. Then I hear a sound. I look up, and he's like, "This is not the time to look up. How can you look away?
Wrong time to look up."
But you hear it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can't. I'm like, I'm not looking up, but I'm looking up, right? And it's just like, what is going on here? But the caveat, it is good. I don't know if I would watch The Alien again. I would definitely watch the Jurassic Park again. But the point is, I get it. But yeah, no. Because I'm way too scary. I would be doing stuff with my eyes closed. I would defeat the whole purpose of playing the game.
It's, especially at the beginning, it's very difficult because usually it's dark and I don't know what's around the corners. I don't know the game mechanics. Like, when am I going to have to run? I don't know. So I move very slowly at the beginning of a game because I'm like, I don't want to go. I'm just going to stay in this corner and I don't want to move. And so what I've started doing, is there's a channel point redeem, where, I have to take off my glasses and I have to play the game without my glasses for a certain amount of time. And, you know, there's an aspect where sometimes being just fully blind, there's another one where basically, like, I just have to start running. Like, I'm not allowed to, like, sneak. I just have to run. And so it forces me to move. But it's interesting because when you take the glasses off and I can't see anyway, and I'm like, all right. And sometimes I am better at playing the game without the glasses. Can't overthink it. Vibes only. Just like, you know, making sense of the blobs because I have to scoot my chair back so that, you know, my vision is a little bit hazier. And, you know, sometimes it really works. You just take off your glasses. You don't overthink it and you just go. And,
girl, who picks these? Did you pick them?
I designed these. I designed these for my community.
Girl, heck
and
no.
There have been times where there are things I could not accomplish, and then someone redeemed. I had to take my glasses off, and I was able to do it without my glasses. It's crazy. I think there's somewhere in there's a lesson. You know, I haven't parsed it out yet, but I think there's a lesson somewhere out there.
Girl, to stop letting them people redeem them things. That's.
Stop letting the people make your life harder than it is.
And stop picking it so that they can actually do it. Okay?
Yes, maybe don't give them the option. That would
Exactly. But at the end of the day, and you said something earlier right before, it was like, it doesn't, I don't know how you said it, like, that it doesn't have a lot of significance, but I think it has a lot of significance of like what we talk about, because as you're doing this, it just reminds me, I was in an interview lately, and I just always am reminded of how story is in everything, right? Like commercials, you know, books, movies, of course. But when you think about video games and character growth and character development and how you can choose how you perfect that skill. Now, do you have to learn how you want to make it transfer to the page? Yes. But a lot of times for us, it's not always the writing, and we think it's that. It's wrapping our head around it.
Yeah.
So that we get it enough to be able to then take it to the page. And so I think that that's such a, I remember when you first started talking about this, and I thought it was so dope then. Now, I didn't know you would be doing scary things, and you asked me to be on there as you hollered at the screen. However,
some loud swears.
I was like, oh my gosh, Rachel curses like a sailor. Like,
when she's scared, oh boy, she do.
And you would think it's me that I don't. And even when I do, it just, I know how to. I just don't. So when it happens, it's just like, oh, she said a bad word.
Boy, and they come rapid fire. When I get scared, that's when, like, no holds barred. Like, it is just flowing.
Rachel, I was so shocked by that. And I told you that. I knew you for forever. I was just like, ooh. Listen, I'm so glad you couldn't see my face. I was like, ooh.
Yes. It's this primal response of when the anxiety is just out the roof, and then you have no other way to express your distress, and they just
to let it out.
Which is why I always warn people, like, hey, look, like, this is like, my Twitch stream is good if you're into that kind of thing. And if you're not bothered about M-rated games and swears, like, these are the things that you should know. It's sort of like when we talked about in the overview episode that I was like, okay, now, if you are not accustomed to romance, like especially romance at all, this book may be very jarring for you. It may be kind of a tough place to start if you don't know romance, if you don't know that you even like romance. Like, if you're not into romance, this is going to possibly make you uncomfortable. So maybe not your entry point, C. It's kind of similar, right? Where it's like, know what you're getting into, and then maybe work your way into it. If you're like, I don't know if this is for me, maybe, you know? So.
Maybe just sometimes, but sometimes you listen. How does the slogan say? Sometimes you gotta just do it. You just gotta decide, and then you just say full speed ahead.
In the deep end.
Look, take off your glasses and just do it.
And just go, just run. That's gonna be our new phrase on the podcast. Take off your glasses and just go.
Listen, if I take off my glasses, y'all better run. Okay, just get out of my way. Because listen, she gets scared, she curse. I get scared, I fight. It's not a good situation.
We are throwing bows. It is a whole thing.
And everybody can get it. You know what I'm saying? We would not be a good pair.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. We do not belong in a horror movie together.
Not together.
We would have a problem. We'd have a big problem.
And you already know black people don't always make it out those movies. No.
I'll protect you with my life, Dana.
I believe you, but you won't have your glasses on either, so I don't know if I can trust it.
I was going to say, I believe that you would try. I'm not sure if you would succeed. I love you, but... And honestly, I respect that take.
Listen, I be like, I believe you with all my heart and all your little heart too, but baby... You can't see, I can't see, it be on and popping. We gonna be calling Trevor and Keeman quickly, okay? Come here, help us out.
Yes, fortunately, we are in romance today. One of these days, one of my picks needs to be a horror novel. I think we need to just
I think we should do that one novel that I told you about. I maybe should do it for one of mine.
One?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was so good.
That would be a good one.
So good.
So maybe there's some horror.
It's got a little bit of like, but it doesn't. It isn't just horror. It has like, because like magic.
Yeah.
All that stuff because of her powers.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's a beautiful one.
Listen, y'all, you might have some horror coming your way, so buckle up.
I'm gonna read it with my eyes closed.
Good luck.
Listen.
Like listen with one earbud out, and you're like,
listen. Oh my gosh, girl, no, and no. Oh my gosh.
So, before we get to anything horrific, any horrors, depending on how you feel about the sex scenes in this book, let's go ahead and dive into our conversation about characters in Twisted Love. So, Dana, why don't you hit us with a summary to ease us into our discussion?
Alrighty. Twisted Love is a steamy, emotionally charged, contemporary dark romance about two opposites bound by family secrets and obsession. When Ava Chen's protective older brother leaves town, he asks his best friend and cold, calculating neighbor, Alex Volkov, to keep an eye on her. What begins as reluctant guardianship turns into an intense forbidden attraction that forces both to confront old wounds. Alex hides a past scarred by loss and revenge. Ava carries buried trauma of her own. Their relationship becomes a collision of control and compassion, guilt and desire, light and darkness. It's a story about what happens when love cracks open the armor you've spent a lifetime building. A mix of grumpy sunshine, brother's best friend, and good girl, bad boy tropes reimagined for a modern audience, blending emotional heat with psychological depth.
All right. So what do you want to talk about just at the high level today? What are some of those points you kind of want to dive into today when it comes to characters?
I think it could probably all be summarized by the fact that these are not perfect characters, and both of them, you find them polarizing, and as they are polarizing, they are also drawn to each other in the best possible, maybe even worst possible way. And so some of the things that I have is to sort of look at their representative when they come to the page. So Alex being this damaged protector, and then Ava being a sunshine with scars, because both of them have a journey in this story, and they both have trauma that they are honestly healing from. I absolutely love the fact that they are both grow, and there is a dual payoff in this story, which I think is done beautifully. And another thing that I have here is sort of their chemistry as conflict that we see again, like in the summary, the fact that the brother, his best friend, her brother, is kind of bringing them together, not for them to get together, of course, because he would never want that for his sister, but it's what happens. And so the more that they're drawn to each other, the more, honestly, not only does their chemistry sort of go off the scale, but it also brings that external conflict closer and closer in. And so, we're talking more about the characters today. You can see more if you go back and listen to the last episode about the plot. But that chemistry, I mean, it sort of fuels everything, because it's really is forbidden. It's like they shouldn't be doing this. And everybody sees this sort of train wreck coming. And even they do, but they can't help themselves. And so I think this is one of those times where when you talk about characters, especially the fact that this is a dark romance, that it really becomes the lifeline of the actual story. Like you have the romance, and then in this case you have the suspense as far as the subplot, but it is these characters and us going on this journey, good, bad, and the ugly, as they fight for and claim their happily ever after. And I'm sure I got a couple more things, sprinkled in here. But yeah, those are the main things that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And those kind of will pair right alongside mine as well. I want to just touch briefly on, this is dark romance. And so it brings in this element. So first of all, it's dark romance and it's steamy. But I think that she did a nice job of kind of motivating the way that she framed the steamy scenes. In terms of, because this is dark romance, one of the things that we start to lean into in this particular story is kink, and the way that rather than just saying this is dark romance and so we're going to go for kink, but she motivates, like she kind of anchors that choice in the story and the characters themselves, particularly with Ava and Ava kind of going along with this and coming along for this, which I think is important because it sells us on that choice. Rather than it just, again, feeling arbitrary, because it's like, it's dark romance, therefore we're doing this. And so that choice feels like it's motivated through the characters. But also, when we look at Alex and Ava, we see the way that Ana Huang developed these characters by putting them in a similar problem space, and putting them, kind of positioning them in opposites, and then using that to kind of develop their characters so that the whole thing feels like a cohesive exploration. So they both come from trauma, but they sort of have like opposing types of trauma, right? So like Ava was like a victim of violence. Alex was a victim of like witnessing the violence. Ava has chosen to handle her trauma like through this sort of like, sunshine is a choice, right? Deciding that she's going to approach the world this way in spite of what she's experienced. Alex has decided, I'm going to burn down the people who did this. And the way that they're both uniquely handling similar but it's opposites in every way, but in a similar arena, and that gives this kind of cohesive feeling. Also, right, Ava can't remember things after a point, and Alex can remember everything. But that choice also is a part of what makes Alex, right? And so like it's just tying together all of these different threads so that they form a whole picture like of the story itself, and and brings us almost something kind of thematic that unifies it all sort of under one umbrella. I think she did that really well. So with those kind of things in mind, where do you want to go ahead and kick off this discussion?
I think it would be really interesting. We can talk a little bit about each one of them, where I wanted to do, and then go to what you just said. One of the things that sort of comes to mind to me is that normally when you have a romance, and I don't want to say normally as in every one of them, every romance has this, but you'll find it a lot more common, especially when you have a series, is that you have this opportunity to use each one of those couples that are a part of this story to reflect different kinds of love, right? You may see a divorce or a separation, or a couple that is happily and been together a long time, or different things. And I think the fact that you sort of bring the opposite spectrum, it's almost as if it gave their relationship even more context, if you will, while at the same time those areas being both the conflict as well as the adhesion, right? It was the conflict because it was a conflict because of the secrets and the things that we talked about in plot, right? In this illusion of control. But it's the adhesion because in the moments when they are working, it's because they're aiming to get over those things, and it's not 100% because they're not being 100% truthful. And so what it does is it allows the chemistry to be conflict, right? Because it is not fully like in the light yet. And so those things about them that make them so different, but it also makes him be a really great champion for her. And it also makes her to be willing to see the good sides of him, what if there are any, right? To see that in him because she's made this choice to see the positive. And I think this is a very interesting take. And I guess I am starting out of order, but I think it's in this story is an interesting take when you think of grumpy sunshine. Right, that trope and what causes these characters to be the way that they are. His grumpiness is not you're just, I'm just done with people, but it's as life dealt a very bad hand to him. And he's attempting in his own way to right, if you will, that wrong. And not only did life, but his genetic makeup, right, causes it to be experienced over and over and over and over again. And so I think that was such a great choice, and it makes a story like this, especially when you're talking about dark romance, where you usually have people that are going on a more intense journey to get over things, that it really is important how you pair those wounds, how you pair those flaws, and what it is about that love interest that becomes a resting place or a peaceful place for that person who in other ways don't experience that. And so I kind of touch on that, and I look forward to hearing you say something about it too. And so it kind of goes right into what I had of like, because I was thinking about when it comes to characters and you think about dark romance, there's a wonderful book by Theodora Taylor about seven-figure fiction, and she talks about universal fantasies. And I always think about the concept of universal fantasies where we really see it heightened in a story like a dark romance, because it's usually this thing of like there's a trope that's called touch her and die, right? Or he falls first and falls harder. That he'll burn the world down to ash to protect her, right? And it's this thing, and I think it's an overflow of how we are just in this world right now and in our culture, domestically, and that there's so many bad things that happen to good people, and you just want there to be some sort of justice out there in the world, even if it's vengeance or whatever. And so you have him to embody this sort of damaged protector. And even when he's trying to protect Ava from herself, and even to the point of protecting Ava from himself, right? And then for Ava, she is not your typical sunshine. She's a sunshine with scars, and that she's choosing sunshine to be optimistic. And she is has her own, not just scars, but she has her own sort of mental battling with her past and the loss of memories, etc. And so these are not your typical romance characters.
Yeah.
And so for you to put them on the page and say that we know if it's a romance that they're going to get a happily ever after. So we know we've been given that promise. But when we see this packaging, we're like, how, Sway?
Yeah.
How are you going to give us a happily ever after? And so I think that it's so great that you pair this guy that sort of has almost no soft edges with this girl that appears to be naive to the point where her brother thinks she needs a protector while he's out of the country. But then we see that he softens for her, and she has a spine, and she has a backbone, and she may be optimistic, but she's choosing it. And that for those things to become both their strengths as well as their weaknesses. So it makes for this pairing of, again, us having that emotional spectrum that I love in romance, but we have it to the 10th power. Because we need that to be gutted. Yeah. We need that to be able to feel all the feels, and for us to still cheer for them to have their happily ever after. And it's not an easy thing. I don't even think she makes it look easy in this book, but it is done well in this book. And I will say, because I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about the opposites, even though I went out of order. I think that's one of those things about this, and that we've said in the disclaimer that this is a dark romance. And if you are like a little bit, you clutch your pearls when it comes to some of the steamy parts, you may need to just read real fast past them or skim read or whatever. But I think it's a wonderful job of character development and creating characters that you just don't see. But once you get into the story, you see it. You see it and you believe it. And that is a skill, right? That is a skill. It's writing ability, but I think it's not just writing ability. I think it's like being able to be a great person at putting together puzzles. Right? Because what you're doing is you've got to have enough contrast to be able to make it interesting and have the conflict. But you have to have enough of those invisible sameness elements, and I always call these invisible tethers, that makes it so that it was inevitable. It's just about how it was going to come to be, and we see that on a full scale in this story.
Well, and I think too, like, when you talk about Ava's unique brand of sunshine, I think that you need that for a character like Alex, because I think if she was just like she's just like some like a goofy like I think that like Naomi Witt wouldn't pair with Alex.
Oh no.
Right? Because Ava has been through real, like, the reason she's able to sort of like, I say stand up to Alex, and I don't really mean like stand up like against him, although she'll do that many times throughout the story, but she is able to sort of like meet his challenge because she isn't just naive. She isn't just dumb rose-colored lenses and just because, but she has experienced real pain. And so she actually has more of a spine than people realize. And that gives her the opportunity to really go toe-to-toe with Alex and in that way, like, earn his respect. Because of how she's able to carry herself. So it makes her like, she's not just damsel in distress. She is like a strong character. So you have a very strong female character that doesn't look the way that we always think that, right? She doesn't look like Sin and Chocolate. She is very much like her own person, and so that when we see them together, to your point, when we actually see them, we begin to understand, like, oh, like, this works. I get this. And the fact that she also gives Ava her moment to say, don't mistake what kind of person you think I am. Don't think that it's naivete. Like, I made my choice of the person I was going to be. And so so she sets her up as this kind of character, but then also gives her a moment to shine in that in that choice, and to, again, like kind of go toe to toe with Alex and represent herself over and against what other people have said or think about her, just adds some of that, like adds strength to her position as a as our female main character, but again also as a partner for Alex, where she is like and that's how we understand how they work as a couple, and that they do work as a couple. Because again, I think if she were like Naomi Witt, or if she were flimsier as a person, we would sort of feel like, oh, like she's his pet project, you know, where it's just like, oh, you poor helpless idiot, you need someone to, and like nobody wants that relationship where your man is like, oh, you poor helpless stupid person, like someone needs to look after you. Nobody, right? That would destroy the fantasy, because that's not what anybody wants. And so those choices that she made in the character development, and this goes back to putting them on a similar spectrum of problems, right? And showing two different people handling it in two different ways, creates that invisible tether and sells us as the audience on, yeah, these two people belong together.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things where I think shining the light on a story like this helps you to see how much depth comes in romance, right? Because any other pairing, this wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
So you really have to. I remember, y'all, squirrel moment for 1 second. I promise I'll bring it back. I remember when I first started writing, I realized that my emotional vocabulary was non-existent, right? Like I knew happy, mad, sad, like the basics. But to really be able to build the types of characters that I saw in my head, I had to go deeper. And I think that's what you see here. And I think that's what you get a lot. I know that's what you get a lot in dark romance. Some of the other things that people can't stomach, because this is lightweight compared to others, right?
This is still not like dark.
Yeah.
This is contemporary romance with like some dark on it.
Exactly.
Not full dark romance,
exactly.
For sure.
But it's enough that it has to be a choice that you make, and you're willing to go there because this is their journey. But it does help you to see the depths, and that goes into how you create those characters. What are those flaws? What are those wounds? What are the source of those wounds? And I think one of the things that I do feel like could be a discussion for another day within the context of what we're talking about now is I think sometimes we sort of borrowed the transformation of one for the other in the story development, so that maybe each one didn't fully get as fleshed out fully, right? But we can't do everything in the story. I think it was enough for the context and the length that we had. But because they were on the same spectrum and it was similar, it still worked. You know what I mean? And so it's almost like really like developing those backstories and figuring out, like, does this work? The other thing that I would say about that is that this technically would be classified as a new adult romance because of her age, right? She's still in college. And I think the fact that you don't, because listen, I'm the one, I don't want to be hearing about no 20-somethings. Okay, I'm that reader. Okay. But
I think I aged, like, I think maybe I've always been, I was like 15 and I'm like, I don't want to read about teenagers, tell me about the grown-ups.
Girl, because you old Lady Rachel. So here it works because of their emotional experience, their emotional years. And here it's like they've lived a long life for the number of years that they've had. But we also see that is one of those areas where they have that similarity makes it so that it honestly just works. It works. And so I feel like the way she used it against us, right, because we're feeling all the things, is that it sort of created this subtle ache in him. And for her, it's the very thing that gets tested for her transformation. Yeah. That she has to decide, do I still choose this when the person that I've let so close is the source of that hurt? Because when she looks back over the other hurts, it can be categorized differently now.
Yeah.
It still hurts, but it can be categorized differently. And this is where, again, where we get that emotional bandwidth that we're like, oh, we are there. We are aching. We are sad for her. We're mad for her. We want the best for her. And we think it's him, but then again, we're not sure. And this is what keeps us glued to the page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So actually, this is a great opportunity because this sort of goes right into, you talked about kind of a dual payoff. So they both have a journey, they both have a healing, they both get a payoff. Can you talk a little bit more about that inside of the story?
I absolutely can, because one of the things that, look, I'm so glad you asked. Listen, one of the things that I love about romance, and I feel like it's one of our greatest distinguishing factors, is the fact that we are a dual protagonist story. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times in the references and resources that we are provided, that part is missing.
Yeah.
Y'all, hence why y'all need to be in my blueprint, okay? But it's because we are a dual protagonist story. And in this story, it's evidenced so well, because even though they're going on this journey together, they have their own journey. They have their own healing. They have their own demons, if you will, ghosts, if you will, wounds, if you will, that they must get to the other side of. If, and this is the goal here, right? If you want to be wholeheartedly loved and wholeheartedly willing to be loved in return. And that's what the goal state is, right? To be in this wholehearted state. And it doesn't mean wholehearted that he's turned into sunshine, but it's that they have reconciled with that past and that hurt. And that they are willing to get on the other side of it so that they can fully embrace the love of that other person, and that they are willing to do whatever it takes to get over their ish, so that they can be deserving, if you will. Because I don't like saying deserve as if you have to, like, love is not tick for tat, but at the same time to feel like they can have that they deserve that, and
almost be capable of it, right, through overcoming the wounds, because the wounds keep them from giving and receiving love freely, and so it's overcoming it that makes them capable of having that free exchange.
Exactly, because the very walls that they erect to protect that wound makes it so that no love gets out and no love comes in.
Yeah,
and so that wall has to come down. And that is where the biggest danger happens to them as individuals and a unit, right? Because it means that you're exposed. Yeah. So here, what you see is that, he learns to feel and she learns to protect her peace, right? Yeah. And they, which she does so well in here, as Ava is sort of feeling the brunt of Alex's decisions, he's also feeling the brunt of his decisions in a way that he's never felt that before, because he's been so laser visioned on his destination, and now it's like, oh wait, that speed bump was her, that he has to stop, and it was so almost like beautifully, crushingly done, that the very thing that he's always fought, his memory, is also the thing that keeps breaking his own heart, right? Because he keeps, replaying. But with that said, the biggest part of that to me is the fact that love is not the cure. Yeah. And I want to say this for everybody. I don't think romance should ever be that love is the cure. Yeah. If it is, go deeper. Because we deserve deeper as readers. Okay. Yeah. So love is not the cure, but it becomes a catalyst. And it's the catalyst because Alex cannot be the man that he needs to be for her in that state. And she cannot be the woman that she needs to be able to get the love and receive the love and stand beside him if she doesn't still have her backbone, her wits about her, and she is very clear about what she deserves and what she's willing to take and what she won't take. Yeah. And it comes with her not just having agency in word, but agency in totality. Yeah. Her mind, her heart, her actions, her decisions. And so she needs this. And it is a heartbreaker, but it forces her.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest conduit, in a romance. Yeah. So in reality, we see it almost as an extreme because of where they are, but it's the kind of extreme that it lands. And it also can be an extreme that helps you to get what we're saying as we talk about this, because it is so like, oh my gosh. Because if you do regular like sweet and you read this, you're like, wait a minute. Wait, I thought this was romance.
Yeah.
But it's you need that sometimes to be able to see the concepts a little bit clearer.
Yeah, and that's something that sometimes, like, particularly when I was teaching writing in a program previously, sometimes we would encourage the students to say, okay, take this concept and like go to the extreme just so you can see what it looks like, and then you can kind of work your way back toward the middle, whatever that thing is, and so because we see that here, and I think when your stakes can go this high, and when you're in something like dark romance where you have that spectrum, right, to move inside of, you can push it all the way to the end of the spectrum so that you can actually see that it work. Because you're right, one of the things that this story does so well is it does, like, in no uncertain terms, how am I trying to say this? It does not in any way suggest that love is the solution to their problem.
Exactly.
And this story makes that so clear, particularly in the way that the breakup and the reunion is framed, right? Like that use of what we talked about last week, of that sort of longer fourth act where like they both have to finish figuring themselves out before they can come together, really makes that evident. And I think, one of the things that a love story, or that the love story at the heart of a romance does, is it exposes the characters to what's possible for them, right? They meet this person and it becomes, oh, this is what my life could be, except for this internal thing, and they are forced to confront that this internal thing keeps getting in the way of what's possible. And so they might experience a taste of that, right, where they they start dating, where they start getting together, and they're like, oh wow, so there's something like this could be so good. But they're finding constantly, and this is true for any story when you're weaving an internal and an external arc, right? Your protagonist is going through the story attempting to solve the problem. And what they keep coming up against is that something inside of them is getting in their way of actually solving that problem. That's how you weave your internal and external arcs together so that they feel like they belong together. That this external arc is uniquely challenging this protagonist to have this particular internal change. And that's what the romance is doing, right? It's like they're exposed to like, oh, this, like I could have this. Ouch, except for this thing that I keep trying to protect, and forces them to confront that thing and deal with that thing so that they can actually have in its fullness that thing that is possible. But that thing is it's almost like it's the reward on the other side of the transformation, not the thing that fixes the problem. And I think that's a really important thing to highlight for anyone doing a romantic subplot, and certainly anyone writing romance, of like, if you are presenting your story such that love is the solution to the problem, you need to dig deeper, because there's more to it than that.
Yeah. And girl, you said things 17,000 times. So I'm going to say this. I absolutely agree. I will say this. So what you are fighting when it comes to romance is the fact that they are protecting that wound, and the protection of that wound keeps them from having wholehearted love.
Yep.
We see this especially when you are looking at the transition from your act 2 to your act 3, but it's on full display when they sort of revert after the climactic scene, right? And so what happens is they are continuing to protect it because they have been, if they let someone in close before and they sort of crushed them, and now they think that I can have this, but they can't have it because they won't let that space, they won't let it go. Like they won't open up completely. And so part of this, I mean, we see this beautifully here, that tug of war. Now, one of the things that I think she did really well here is that there was a little bit of sort of relinquishment, if you will, of like relaxing between them as a unit, where he was like, wherever you are is where I'm going to be, essentially, right? And it felt like, oh, I'm letting this thing down. But the reality is, it's like it's still partly them operating in the sense of their representative versus it being in their true essence. Because there are still, in this case, secrets. Yeah. And so, yes, that is absolutely correct. I would say one additional thing, and this would be, y'all, this is a Dana-ism, so y'all just take it with a grain of salt. I believe it's both the internal, but also that there is the romantic thread. And those two things can be different, but they affect each other. Yeah. So there may be things that they need to heal as a person that affects their ability to have the type of romance and love that they desire. And we see that here. Mm-hmm. So both of those things have to be reconciled. Yeah. And so this sounds like, it can sound very woo-woo-ish because we are talking about a novel. But if you are the one writing it, this is what your reader is looking for. Yeah. So you better get out the mustard and catch up. You better get out the mustard and catch up. You have to go there. Mm-hmm. And because this is also what makes it feel so much like I know these people, or oh, I feel your heart hurts and you start about to cry, but you read the pages through tears in your eyes because you get it. You get it. Whether you've had that same particular hurt or not, you understand when something, in order to have the thing that you really want, that you have to be willing to let go of other things because you can't hold both at the same time. Yeah. And that's what we see here. Yeah. And so I would say, as the caveat of that, and this is what I was trying to tell you in our last thing, like when we talked about last month, this is one of those things that I think about dark romance that is such a great experience if you're a person where you're trying to understand that balance when it comes to character and going there with character, that sometimes we could get sidetracked by all of the chandelier swinging and all of the extracurricular activities, that we miss the opportunity to see this dynamic at play. Yeah. Because it is so heart-wrenching that it almost makes it easier to pare it back. Mm-hmm. Because here she goes there. There's a couple of them. I don't care how many times I read the story, I'm still saying, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Yeah. And I know he's going to do it because he did it the last 10 times I read it. But I'm wondering, I might get through to him this time. And so, yes, so I would say understanding where that transformation is. And the last part is, there is nothing like a good false high. Let me tell you something. In a story like this, when it looked like everything is hunky-dory and peaches and cream, and we getting roses and chocolate and butterflies, and then that rug gets yanked and it says, baby, you are not done changing yet. Yeah. No, you have not got, because the person getting through that fully is when we believe. Yeah. And so this story has one for your tail. Okay. So I think that's the other part too, that she used that. She played that false high up because we were there. And it made it so that those other moments, that rug pulling, the all is lost, that dark moment, that it just, man, it still hurts even just to think about it. And that's when you know it's an amazing story.
Yeah, and that's that's that testament to, it's interesting because we're talking, this, and it always is like this, but it incorporates aspects of plot. But the reason that the plot choices work is because of the development done on the characters. And the emotional resonance is hitting because, those external events matter to us because the characters matter, because of the character development, because the way that we understand those characters and we see how they're getting in their own way, but we understand why. It's when we know what they've been through, we can't blame them for being that way. We're like, oh man, I can't say I would do it differently. maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, but Alex Volkov has witnessed his whole family, and so you're like, how mad can I be at you? I'm upset, right? Like, again, it hurts, but those moments land emotionally because of the work that's been done on the characters. And so just exactly what you said, right? Do I relate to Alex Volkov? No, but I feel that I can understand him given what I know about him now and why he's doing what he's doing and what he's doing. And that makes it hurt worse, honestly. If we didn't understand, we could just be mad, right? Like, I can't believe it. And we just, we can just be outraged and we can stop there. Instead, because we understand, it hurts.
Yeah. And that's what we want.
Exactly.
We want all the feels. Okay, so I would say, because I know that we're like getting towards the end of this, I would issue a challenge to someone. If you're like me, okay, well, first of all, I know you're not like me, but we're just going to say for that you are like me and that I can't stand hurting my characters. This is not a very good characteristic to have. I want everybody to be happy, right? We've come this far. Why would we go through all this pain? Which is why I have to read stories like this, because it challenges me, because I feel the feels and I want my readers to feel that. And so I'm always asking myself, what is the worst that could happen? What is the thing that they're running from? Because the thing that they're running from is the very thing that they must endure to get the happily ever after that they desire. And so it's important to start looking at stories and sort of being able to define that for yourself so that you can begin to see, like, what does that spectrum look like? And I do not in any way, shape, or form think that this is easy. Don't at all. And as a writer, I have to push myself with, like, if I'm plotting it and my chest is aching and I'm like, I don't want to do it. I know this is going to crush it. Right. Yeah. And I'm talking to myself. And then my husband will say, is anybody in there with you? No, it's just me. And it sounds like I'm cuckoo. Okay. So the point is, though, if you're one of those that going there is a challenge for you, look at stories like this. And on the flip side, if you're the one that goes there just for, just to do it, that's not going to work. Yep. Here, the groundwork was laid. Go back to plot conversation. The groundwork was laid so that when this thing hit, we did not like it. We felt all of the feels, but we were not shocked. Now, we were shocked, but not shocked because of what unfolded, because we knew this to be true about him and we knew this to be true about her, but it was almost like a say it ain't so kind of moment. But it was so. Because both of them had to go through that. And so it becomes almost this sort of self-checking process that you can do. Like, have I laid the groundwork to be able to ask for those emotions at this particular moment for that payoff? And then for someone who has a challenge with going there, the question is, like, what is the very thing that they are afraid of, and are you delivering that? Maybe even plus some. If you're really scared, you may need to say times 2. So because you may be trying to do baby steps, and we want you to go there, because it's easy to go there and pull back than not go far enough and it peters out. For right? Sure. So that's what I would say. But this is a great book to see it and happen on the page. Oh, and one final thing, I will say that there are some parts towards the end, when it came to the characters, when it came to the fourth act, that I think we'll talk about it a little bit more in the editor's takes, that some of the things were more told than on the page. But I think that was the amount of progression of time. So we wouldn't want those things happening earlier in the story. I think the earlier portions of the story gave a little bit of a pass for what happened later. So you don't want to look at that part of it as a full-blown example. I think that served its purpose, but it was because all of the other aspects of the plot had been satisfied. Okay, so we'll talk about that next week in Editor's Takes. That's right. Well, I'm on the edge of my seat now because this hasn't come up in our conversation yet. So now I'm like, what do you mean? I want to know more. So brace yourself, everybody, because we've dropped a little narrative drive for next week. So tune in next week to find out what Dana has to say about this. I'm very excited, so you should be too. Okay, so that should wrap up our discussion, right? We've hit everything? I do believe so. If there's anything else, you need to go read the book. Which you should have done, which you need to do anyway. But yes.
Dana did not come to play today. She said, if there's anything else, go read the book.
Go read the book.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us yet again. So we will be back next week for our editor's takes and our kind of wrap-up discussion surrounding Twisted Love by Ana Huang. And we're going to find out what Dana has to say and what example we shouldn't take from the book. And I just can't wait. I'm dying to know. So, in the meantime, don't forget to like this video or this podcast / episode or whatever format you're watching on. Drop us a heart, leave us a rating and review. Drop us a comment. Again, let us know if you have any questions or any book recommendations or any thoughts on Twisted Love. And we will be back next week. Did I say subscribe? Yeah, no, I hit all the, I gotta like run through the list of like, what are all the things that they need to do? So anyway, we look forward to seeing you back here next week. But until then, happy writing.